They used to call him a hero, Admiral Joseph Impeach. Medals on his chest, steel in his eyes, commander of men in a world where every decision meant life or death. The Navy gave him the name Iron Fist, because when he came down on something, it stayed down. He fought terrorists overseas, stood on carriers with the flag snapping over his head, speeches about freedom and sacrifice. Flashback, 1991, desert sands. Impeach standing over a table lit by a lantern, maps sprawled. A younger Aaron Schulte at his side, scribbling numbers, projections, supply chains. The brain back then was just a pencil pusher, but even then his mind ran like a machine. Sir, if we move the resources this way, we could cut waste in half. Impeach looked at him, saw more than a lieutenant, saw a future partner. Another flashback, 2003, Black Ops in some jungle no map ever claimed. A soldier steps out of the muck, face caked in mud, silent as death. The men whispered about him, called him the Frog. Impeach watched the man drop 3 targets without a sound, melt back into the shadows like he was born there. That night, over a fire, Impeach said, "You ever get tired of taking orders, stick with me. We'll make real money." The Frog just nodded. That's when the shift began. Somewhere between the medals and the missions, Impeach stopped fighting wars and started selling them. He saw the value wasn't in victory, it was in blueprints, designs, secrets. He could sell tomorrow's weapons to the highest bidder, and who paid better than the mob? In Brooklyn, loyalty's currency, but money buys silence. Present day, Impeach in a back room, suit sharp, cigar smoke curling up to the ceiling. Across from him sits Nick Palermo, listening close as Iron Fist slides a folder across the table. Inside, schematics, military grade, enough firepower to turn the streets into a battlefield. Behind Impeach, the brain adjusts his glasses, numbers already running. The Frog stands quiet in the corner, eyes cold, a shadow with breath. Admiral Impeach ain't the Navy hero no more. He's a freedom fighter on paper, a weapons broker in truth. The Bureau thinks he's untouchable, the streets think he's a blessing. But Brooklyn knows, a man like that don't bring peace, he brings war. Brooklyn Bloodlines, Season 2, coming soon.
Muggs, what the fuck you doing in there, you prick?
Tales from the Pizzaverse, the Civil War fiasco. The fall wind rolled off the Brooklyn docks, sharp as a blade. Inside the back room of the social club, the usual suspects were gathered around the scarred oak table. The air was thick with smoke, Sinatra crooned from the jukebox, and the whiskey bottles sweated in the dim light. It was supposed to be a quiet night, but nothing ever stayed quiet in the Pizzaverse. SunGrown was the one who started it, big smile on his face, cloud of smoke hanging over him like a halo gone wrong. "Yo, fellas," he said, "I got a business opportunity, down south. Big money, big vibes." The table groaned in unison. Every time SunGrown said them words, it ended with blood, bail money, or both. Frank Pecoraro leaned back, cigar clamped tight between his teeth, scowling like a bulldog that just found out the butcher closed early. "Every fucking time, kid. Last time you said that, I ended up knee-deep in swamp water swatting mosquitoes big enough to carry me off. Don't insult me with opportunity." Impeach, sitting with his duffel bag of mystery gadgets, grinned wide, eyes gleaming like a man who never learned caution. "Doesn't matter. I brought government tech. Doesn't matter if it's ghosts, submarines, or cocksuckers. We'll be ready. Lopez sat at the end of the table, calm and cold as ever, cleaning his Glock with slow precision. Already sounds like entrapment. Aaron the Brain was flipping through his laptop, eyes darting like a raccoon in a jewelry store. Actually, southern ley lines suggest unusual paranormal convergence points. This could... Rottweiler banged his fist on the table hard enough to rattle the glasses. Say ley lines again and I'm biting you, kid. Mikey the Hammer sipped his black coffee, voice low and gravelly. Shut the fuck up, all of you. We're going. If there's a fight, I'm breaking jaws. Jim Martin strummed an imaginary guitar, humming low, country twang sliding into Sinatra's croon. Smooth, leaning back in his chair, shades on even though it was night, said, Relax, baby. Down south they'll love us. We'll keep it smooth. Frank spat out smoke and barked, The only thing smooth about you is your fucking brain. That's when the door creaked open and Bambi Palermo leaned in, brown eyes sharp, cigarette hanging from her lips. She looked at them like a mother staring at her idiot sons. Fine, go, but if you embarrass Brooklyn, don't come back. The room fell silent. Orders were orders, and so the crew packed up, stuffed themselves into a van that rattled worse than an old coffin on wheels, and hit I-95 south. The road trip was chaos. CNO Evil was running bets on who would puke first, Stiggs or Willie. Stiggs sat there crossing himself, muttering prayers, while Willie cracked his third beer before Jersey was in the rear view. SunGrown kept passing joints around, Impeach fiddled with wires and metal scraps, swearing he'd built a ghost radar, and Aaron tried in vain to get Wi-Fi in the middle of nowhere. Rottweiler yelled at every truck that passed like he had a score to settle with 18 wheels. Mikey kept his eyes forward, silent but heavy, like a loaded gun waiting for permission. Smooth lounged with his shades on, even in the dead of night, like he thought he was James Dean instead of a schmuck from Bay Ridge. And Goku sat still as stone, arms crossed, watching the chaos, jaw set. He didn't need to say nothing. His presence alone carried weight. By the time they rolled into the southern town, the streets were lined with dusty pickup trucks, the only things open a diner and a gas station. And hanging from the diner awning in big letters, Annual Civil War Reenactment Weekend, Volunteers Welcome. Any sane crew would have laughed and moved on. But these were Brooklyn boys, and sanity wasn't part of the package. Rottweiler snatched a musket prop from some old man in a gray uniform, yelling, "This mine now!" Frank shouted, "Civil War? I fought in a dozen wars already, cocksuckers," even though the closest he'd ever come was fighting over a parking space. Mikey muttered, "If they need an enforcer, I'll crack skulls for the Union." Aaron tried explaining historical accuracy, which got him booed. SunGrown said the uniforms looked comfy.
Christian's Intelli's Devil in Silk cigar line. One puff, you're already his. They don't call him the Devil in Silk for nothing. He's smooth on the outside, deadly underneath. Now Christian's Intelli's bottling that same fire into Devil in Silk cigars, rolled tight, burning slow, and leaving you breathless in more ways than one. Features: luxury cut, hand-rolled with imported leaf, smoother than a promise you'll regret later. Inferno burn, smoke that lingers long after he's gone, like scars you never talk about. Silk-wrapped box, classy presentation that hides the danger inside, just like the man himself. Nick Palermo. I lit one, and suddenly I remembered every bad decision I ever made with this guy. Bambi Palermo. Smelled sweet at first, then turned toxic, just like him. Mikey the Hammer. Too rich for my blood. But hey, if you're trying to play boss, this is the smoke. Special offer. Buy a box today and get the blackmail matchbook. Lights fast, burns slow, and never forgets. Christians in Telly's Devil in Silk cigars. Smoke with style, choke on the price.
And then Impeach, God help him, climbed up on a hay bale in the middle of the town square, cigar clenched, arms spread, and roared, "Cocksuckers!" The reenactors froze like the war had stopped again. 10 minutes later, the crew was drafted into the battle, half in Union blue, half in Confederate gray, none of 'em knowing which side to shoot at. The field erupted in chaos. Smooth was riding a horse sideways, hollerin' like he was Patton. Frank was screaming about flanking maneuvers, even though he had no fucking clue what it meant. Lopez arrested a Confederate general for illegal assembly. Rottweiler bit a drummer boy on the ankle. Mikey hurled a fake cannonball like a bowling ball and took out a line of volunteers. Aaron shouted historical corrections until somebody tried to shoot him with a cap gun. Jim Martin sang Dixie just to piss people off. SunGrown was passing joints to both armies like it was a peace treaty. And Goku, cool as ice, cut through the whole mess with a saber in his hand, moving like it was a real war. Then the cannon fired. Impeach's gadget sparked, caught fire, and lit up the battlefield in fireworks red, white, and blue. Horses scattered, soldiers screamed, spectators thought they'd just witnessed the second coming. And Impeach, standing in the center of the madness, smoke curling from his cigar, arms wide, bellowed again, "Cocksuckers!" The cops came, of course, sirens wailing, deputies storming the field. Lopez argued jurisdiction with the sheriff. Mikey cracked the back of a squad car open like a beer can. Rottweiler growled at deputies until they backed down, and Frank bribed the judge with a box of cigars. By the time the dust cleared, the crew was sitting in the diner, uniforms torn, soot on their faces, plates of fried chicken and biscuits in front of them. Frank complained the gravy tasted like wallpaper paste. Willie ordered his 7th beer. Aaron tried to record data from the disaster. SunGrown was still laughing into his food. Smooth was asleep with his shades on. Rottweiler was licking gravy off his fists. Goku sat silent, untouched, and Impeach, puffing away, grinned through the smoke. "Best war I ever fought. Cocksuckers." And though she wasn't there, every one of 'em raised their glass to Bambi Palermo, 'cause the Pizzaverse don't move without her at the helm. Moral of the story: life'll drag you into battles you don't understand. Sometimes it ain't about who's north or south, blue or gray. It's about who's on your flank when the cannons go off. In the Pizzaverse, loyalty means more than uniforms, more than history, more than sense. Brooklyn don't fold, don't scare, and don't miss. And that's another tale from the Pizzaverse. Wise guys playing soldier, chaos down south, and Impeach screaming cocksuckers like it's scripture. So do the smart thing. Subscribe to Bambi Palermo and the Pizzaverse. Pull up a chair, light a stogie, pour yourself something strong. Around here, the stories ain't bedtime. They're Brooklyn bedtime, which means you ain't sleeping, you're laughing and remembering what loyalty tastes like. And remember, kid, in the Pizzaverse, we don't fucking miss. Thanks for watching.